The NBA has released the full regular season schedule for the New York Knicks for the 2023-2024 season. And we're going to break down all of those details for you today. We're going to look at the Knicks' full regular season schedule, key games that the New York Knicks fans must watch, and we're also going to take a look at the first 25 games and predict what the Knicks' win-loss record is going to be. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. Let's get started. The New York Knicks' full NBA regular season schedule for the 2023-2024 season has finally been released. Let's take a look. If you want to take a look at this schedule on your own time, you can check the link in the description. But as we're seeing here with this full schedule, we see that the New York Knicks will take on the Boston Celtics on October 25th. Which is going to be opening night for the New York Knicks, and that game is going to be at 7 p.m. And the first back-to-back that the New York Knicks are going to have are going to be against the team that they bounced in the playoffs, in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think I speak for everybody when I say I want to see that matchup. To be quite honest, I wish we saw Donovan versus Jalen on opening night, because I think that matchup is box office and must-see, especially after what we saw in the playoffs. So I really wish that was opening night's game. I don't think it should be against Boston, but the Boston and New York rivalry is always going to be there. So for money-wise, for NBA-wise, and just for viewing-wise, it does make sense why Boston was chosen. And if KP is healthy and available, that's also a good storyline for the New York Knicks against the Boston Celtics. Because at the end of the day, I can say one clear thing. KP against the Knicks is always going to have the fans and the crowd buzzing because they love to see former players return and play against their old teams. But if you also take a look at the schedule here, apart from the Cleveland Cavaliers games, what we're also seeing here is a lot of the teams the New York Knicks are facing, especially early on, are very tough teams. You have Boston there, you have Cleveland there, you have the Clippers there, Milwaukee, and then you see Miami, and then you see Phoenix as well too. So the New York Knicks, at least to start out, are going to have a true test thrown at them because they're going to see some top-level competition from some teams that we expect to be some of the top teams in the league this season. So it's definitely not going to be easy for them to navigate the first half of their schedule, which does seem to be a little bit tough. The one thing that the Knicks will have going for them, apart from a lot of other teams, will be that chemistry that they bring in to the regular season. Say what you will about this roster. Say what it's missing in terms of backup power forwards. I understand all that. But if you take a look at the roster as is, they didn't really change much. Added DiVincenzo, re-signed Hart, traded Obi. And when they traded Obi, they didn't really even trade him for players. The New York Knicks traded Obi Toppin for 2 second-round picks in the future. So again, they didn't even get a player back for him. So the roster really is retained more or less with the same players. In a way, it's not great because you're putting out the same roster that you put out there last season more or less, and that only got you so far. So the argument being, how far is it going to get you this season? That's something to note. But it's also good to note that when you bring back a lot of the same roster, what you hope is the continuation of the chemistry and building that. Because if they can take the chemistry from last season and build upon it for this season, it could get them started hot coming out of the gate, which could benefit all New York Knicks fans. Because I can say more than anything else, seeing the Knicks do well, but start well, is so important because it sends a message not only to your fans, but around the league that the New York Knicks are here and we're here to stay. So I love looking at this schedule because not only does it give the Knicks a true test, it puts that chemistry on full display, and it tells me as a New York Knicks fan where the Knicks are in terms of this high-level competition. Are we still middle of the pack, or did we move a little closer to the top? It's going to be very fun to watch. But what are some key Knicks games that all New York Knicks fans should watch heading into next season? Well, thanks to the NBA schedule being released for the New York Knicks, we do have some of those key dates for you now. So as we take a look here at the key games for the schedule that the New York Knicks have, you'll see that opening night is at MSG, Wednesday, October 25th against Boston. Then they have their road opener on Friday, October 27th against Atlanta. So they're going to be seeing Trae Young at that point in time. It's going to be very interesting to watch that. They have the Christmas Day game against Milwaukee, which I am not looking forward to at all. I think that's a very difficult matchup for the New York Knicks, though I am going to be interested in seeing what their record is when they face Milwaukee on December 25th. Then on New Year's Day, Saturday, January 1st, they're facing Minnesota. On Martin Luther King Day, they're facing Orlando. That's January 15th. On Easter Sunday, they're facing Oklahoma City. That's March 31st. NBA All-Star Weekend is February 16th to the 18th, and it is in Indy. So shout out to Obi Toppin. Something key to understand, and it's very interesting to note here, is the consecutive home games. The Knicks have 5 consecutive home games, the most home games of their regular season in February from the 1st to the 10th. That's going to be key for them to make noise and ensure that they do something positive during that time. I can't stress enough. When you're home, you have to make the most out of those games. You cannot get beat at home. Protect home court at all costs. Another good thing to note here is the consecutive road games that we have. That's 5 games, 2 times. So if you look at the full schedule, you'll be able to see the gaps and when the Knicks are on the road. The key to that is maintaining consistency and playing together. It's not about you or you or you. It's about everyone. And the way to win on the road is playing together, building on that chemistry, and making sure you're communicating like crazy out there. And with a point guard like Jalen Brunson, I don't think the New York Knicks have anything to worry about in terms of communication. The only fear is who is on that road trip for the West Coast. Because if you go against some powerhouse teams, it may be difficult to recover, especially because the Knicks do that twice. So it is good to understand. However, these are the key games of the New York Knicks schedule for next season, and it's the games that I believe all New York Knicks fans should circle on their calendar to ensure that they watch. But what is the win-loss record for the New York Knicks after 25 games? That's a key point to look at here, because despite the full schedule, I think the real test and judge of a team is after 25 games. I think that's when you learn what a team is, you learn what a team can be, you understand the identity of a team, and you can kind of tell where that team is going to end up at the end of the year. More or less. You can't exactly call it, because definitely there are times where teams can turn it around if they've been losing for the first 25 to have a great closeout to their season. So it's not unheard of, but it's less likely as well too. So I do want to point out that the Knicks starting strong and out of the gate hot is a must for them this season, especially if they want to make a point in the East. But let's take a look at the New York Knicks' first 25 games that they'll be playing. If we take a look here, they got Boston, Atlanta, New Orleans, Cleveland twice, Milwaukee, LA, San Antonio, Charlotte, Boston, Atlanta, Washington, Charlotte again, Minnesota, Miami, Phoenix. Look at that back-to-back. That is going to be craziness. Even though it's not a back-to-back, it's November 24th to November 26th. They're playing those games. But still, that's a tough little schedule to have right there. Miami, then Phoenix, tough. Then you got Charlotte, you got Detroit, and then you got Toronto. And then after that Toronto game on the 1st, they'll be conducting that in-season tournament. After that, during that time, following that, they'll face Toronto again on the 11th of December, and then they'll follow that by Utah. And then it'll be Phoenix and LA to close out those games. So these are the games that the New York Knicks are going to be seeing for their first 25 games. And I think you heard on that list a lot of powerhouse teams. You got Milwaukee, you got Boston, you got the LA Clippers, you got Boston again, Miami and Phoenix. You see them again, and then you see the Clippers again as well too. And Toronto, even though they're figuring things out, are not an easy out. especially if they retain Pascal Siakam, OG, they got Scotty Barnes. I know Fred VanVleet's departure from Toronto makes them a little less deadly, but I think a lot of other players on that squad are going to step up and make that team more dangerous than a lot of teams are looking at them as. I think Toronto is going to be very good, especially if they retain a lot of the players that they're talking about retaining at this point in time. After taking a look at the first 25 games the New York Knicks are going to play next season, the question remains, what is going to be their win-loss record once they play those first 25 games? In my opinion, they're going to win 16 games and lose 9 games. That's going to be their record. Why do I say that? It's very simple. Because a lot of the teams that are on that list just formed. And even though on paper they should be good, chemistry takes a long time to build. You don't just get it overnight. It takes some time. And the fact that the New York Knicks are seeing some of these newly created teams early on in their schedule might help them, because they might still be figuring things out in terms of chemistry, which the Knicks could take advantage of and hopefully utilize that fact to win those games. So I think and I believe that the Knicks are winning at least 16 games, if not more, because I think the chemistry aspect is big, but I can't lie. I really, really believe in Jalen Brunson. I think he's going to take a major leap in his game, and I really feel the Knicks are going to ride that wave of momentum that he brings into the season for the Knicks all the way to a great playoff berth heading into this postseason. That's my prediction, but I want to hear yours. After the first 25 games, how many wins and losses will the New York Knicks have? Leave your comment down below, because I'd love to hear it. Before we end today, though, I want to give a little bit of shout out and shine to the New York Knicks for the following. If we take a look here, the New York Knicks are back, baby. We are on national TV for so many games this upcoming season. Look at these games. Boston, Cleveland, Milwaukee, San Antonio, Miami, Phoenix, Milwaukee again. We are on prime time, baby. If you didn't know, now you know. The Knicks are back. That's why we're on national TV so much. We got to thank so many people for why the Knicks are back to this level, being back, getting praised by not only ESPN of all people and the media of all people, but also getting this love from the NBA and getting so many national televised games. I think it speaks a lot to the New York Knicks, their culture, and what they're building. But it also speaks to the fact that a lot of people around the league are recognizing what we all already know. Jalen Brunson is him. He's a star, and you better give him his respect. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a comment below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knick fans. Peace.